Hi everybody, this is Linda Israel, and today I want to share with you how to do embossing. Embossing using pigment inks, embossing powder, like this here, and rubber stamps. And that's what you'll end up with. Something like this, which has a little raised, shiny surface. Here's one in black. It's very quick, very simple. You just need a few supplies: pigment ink, embossing powder, a heat tool, something like this, a safe surface to work on that can get hot, possibly a dryer sheet so that you can keep stray powder from getting all over your work surface. And that's it. Just a little bit of time and you will have some beautiful embossed work. So come on, let's get started. Embossing, using embossing powder. Here before me I have a few of the tools that we're going to use, which is embossing powders. I have different types. I have an embossing tray. We will use an embossing gun. There are different brands and models out there. This one I believe is by Marvy, and it's called an embossing tool. It's worn just a little bit. You can't see the name on there. The first thing that I'm going to do is to prepare my work area. I'm using a heat resistant work surface so that I don't damage it. So you don't want to work on anything that could melt. You could also use aluminum foil as a work surface. What I have here is I have pigment ink, and then I have a rubber stamp of some lips. It's a solid stamp to show you how this works. So I have a very juicy pigment stamp pad. So I'm really going to make sure that there is a lot of ink on this image, and then I'm going to stamp it on my paper. If you think that your paper may have a lot of static on it, you could use a dryer sheet and go over your paper so that the powder won't stick where you don't want it to. And then stamp. Like so. And then I'm going to use some clear, and I keep mine because I buy a bunch of it at one time in a big tub, and I use a spoon to sprinkle it over it, and I put a generous amount on top and then tap it off so you can see that there's only a small amount on top of the actual image. Move your embossing powder out of the way and cover it so it doesn't blow. And then I'm going to make some noise here and turn on the embossing gun. The embossing gun gets at a much higher temperature than your hairdryer. Don't use your hairdryer. Alright, so I've got my embossing gun, and I don't get it too close, but just close enough. And you're going to watch as this changes colors. It's going to go from this dull to a shiny. There, it's starting to turn the top. And as it turns, start moving the gun around. And that is it. It is done. Don't touch it immediately or it will burn you. Now, if I kept heating this, it would start to melt into the paper and would take on a dull look to it. But I stopped just in time, so it's still raised and it is still shiny. I don't see the shine on that. Okay, so that was red with clear on top. Now I'm going to use a black, and then I will use a black on top of that. So I've got an I love you stamp. So I'm going to stamp that like so. Sprinkle the powder over the top. Now, see the loose powder on the paper? The reason that that's on there is because I did not treat this with my anti-static, whether it be a dryer sheet or an anti-static little baggie. If you don't do that, this is what you'll end up with. Now you could go in with a paintbrush and tap that off. Sometimes knocking it off by hitting it on the counter gets a lot of it off. You may like that look. It's up to you. But if you don't do that step first, that's what you'll end up with. Some people get disappointed when they're embossing when they see that. Again, this is going to be hot, so you don't want to hold it too close with your fingers. I'm going to put this down a little bit further from the camera so you can see how far away the gun is. Now it's already starting to turn. And that is emboss. Again, if I keep heating that, it will start to melt down into the paper. I have one more little technique I want to show you. And that is that you can use a little bitty stamp pad. You don't have to use a great big one. I've got some black paper, so I'm going to ink up with a white. Stamp this in the white. Like so. And then I'm going to dip this into my white powder. Okay? So now it's on there in the white. Now, isn't that just amazing? It's really quite simple. It's just a matter of judging it by watching it closely to when it turns a little bit shiny to know to, okay, move on. Either move on to another area or stop altogether because it's done. And that's it. Embossing is really quick and simple. It's just a matter of picking the embossing powder that you like, choosing the inks that you want for your foundation, and then putting the powder on top. I hope that this is very helpful to you when you're trying to do embossing. If you like this video, please comment, subscribe, and tell your friends that I have a plethora of useless knowledge, and I am very, 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 very willing to help with any of your questions that you have regarding art. Have a wonderful day and come back to see me. Bye.